Good morning, and it's lovely to be here speaking with our fantastic panellists this morning about one of my favourite subjects, women in business. So looking forward to this panel. So just a couple of housekeeping things. First, everyone is on mute as our attendees, just to make sure there's no background noise. We're also recording this panel, so you can share it and have a look later on as well. And also please submit some questions. If you want to ask anything or you've got any comments, please put them in the chat and we'll get around to them throughout the panel. So in recent years, the world's shifted towards a more equal climate in the workplace, but challenges and barriers remain still for women. So this webinar hopes to discuss what these challenges, how you can turn these challenges into opportunities, as well as providing an opportunity for you to hear from female business owners, how you can manage your work-life balance, how you can find opportunities in a male-driven environment, and celebrating success and how you find your female community. So the panellists will discuss how they've risen above these challenges, and they'll help give you some advice on how you can do the same, and how you can forge forward in your business. So we've got three amazing panellists, as I said this morning, who are entrepreneurs and leaders as women in business. So I'd like to introduce, first of all, our Women's Enterprise Scotland Chief Executive, Carolyn Currie. Can you tell us a little bit more about WES, please?
Okay, good morning, everybody. Women's Enterprise Scotland is a research-led, not-for-profit organisation, and we were founded to help more women start up in business and grow. Most of our support is free to access, and in fact, many of you that are accessing digital support are probably signed up for the Women's Business Centre.com. We launched that at the height of the pandemic to provide more support. We also operate an ambassador program, which works with really experienced women-owned businesses who give back and share their knowledge and expertise to help others. And in fact, Jo, who's on with us today, is one of our ambassadors. And we work with lots of different partner organisations, from banks to media companies like STV and BBC, and I'm sure all of that will come up more in the discussion. So looking forward to participating this one.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Caroline. We love Women's Enterprise Scotland, absolutely. And I'd like to move on now to Kylie Reid, who is founder of Egg. Kylie, could you tell us a little bit more about Egg, please?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Delighted to be here. Egg is an on and offline platform supporting women and independent businesses. Our heart is probably our Facebook groups. We have almost 80,000 women in Scotland as part of those, who share, support, connect, and champion each other. We have a good presence on Instagram and other social media platforms, and this year launched a new website, which is a review-led directory filled with, again, brilliant independent businesses, many of them who can be booked directly from our platform using the Appointed integration. Appointed is another brilliant female-led business. And this year we brought our online platform offline onto George Street when we launched a 7,000 square foot pop-up store filled with almost 100 female-led businesses over the space of 4 months. It was glorious and good news for the high street, and we'll hopefully do it again.
Oh my goodness, that sounds glorious. That sounds amazing. It's so lovely to have you here. And Jo Chidley we have, who is the founder of Beauty Kitchen UK. Could you tell us a little bit more about Beauty Kitchen, please, Jo?
Yeah, I'm just going to do a little bit of a pitch that'll take about 30 seconds. So the FMCG industry creates over 161 million tonnes of plastic packaging every year. And sadly, most of this isn't recycled. The global packaging industry is worth $1 trillion annually. 99% is single use and less than 1% of the reusable packaging is smart and trackable. Is a borrow anywhere, return anywhere, reuse anywhere alternative to single-use packaging. It's a scalable whole system approach for refill and return on the go. using smart reusable packaging and removing the barriers for retailers and brands and consumers who want to participate in the circular economy. Hi everybody, my name's Jo Chidley. I'm a chemist and founder of Beauty Kitchen and Repackaging Systems. We're based in Wishaw in North Lanarkshire. Beauty Kitchen is one of the highest ranked B corporations in the world. We have the most cradle to cradle certified products that are stocked in major retailers in 8 countries. The reason why I just mention that is one, it keeps me right and it keeps me concise in terms of introduction. But 2, it's around this idea of that you can start off with your initial business and something else, and this has probably happened to everyone that's on this webinar, something else appears that's really interesting and you find a solution for that. And that's really what happened with Beauty Kitchen. We have these beautiful blue glass bottles. Yeah, they protect our products, but unfortunately, they're really expensive commercially, but they're also really expensive environmentally. And if you put them in the recycling bin, they won't be recycled. And that's where the reusable packaging system was created. I'm also a WES ambassador. And if there's any questions about different businesses today, then please get them in the chat.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I am so honoured to be here with the 3 of you. Seriously, I'm so looking forward to this discussion. And just a little bit about me. I work at South of Scotland Enterprise and I'm a business coach for women's enterprise. So I help women get into business. I champion women. I'm so passionate about this and helping women get into that space. So we'll start off our questions. This is our first question and it's to everyone. What are the main challenges, do you think, in today's climate for a woman starting up a new business?
I can start if you like. I mean, there's so many, isn't there? But for me and for many women that I speak to, and I think some of the other panel will cover kind of economic challenges, but for me, and from a personal point of view, it's all about confidence. And I think, coming out of 2 years of the pandemic has not helped that at all. But we met many, many business owners, as I said, during our time at Egg & Co on George Street, many of them who had a spark of an idea, many of them who were doing a kind of side hustle and, they had one main job, but had their kind of passionate side hustle, but so many lacking confidence in going for it. And I think creating that space where we brought women together to, again, champion each other and build each other up really helped. But it's scary, I mean, for me, what pushed me to setting up my business was actually the death of my dad, and you have that kind of moment in your life when you think, I'm not here forever. Some terrible things have happened. What's the worst that's going to happen if I go for this and launch my business? And we only have a short amount of time here. So, and I think pushing through and setting up a business and kind of growing and growing and growing helps your confidence. But I think everyone's confidence has had a bit of a bashing. And yeah, I think confidence is a huge one for women.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree totally.
I'd like just add to that really from Kylie. I mean, it's this point of failure, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, a lot of the times when somebody's thinking about starting a business or anything, starting any new project, probably the doubt through lack of confidence in a lot of ways is around that idea of what if I don't make it? What if I fail? When actually you should just turn that on its head. And I can't remember where I saw this quote, but it was very recent. So Douglas Adams is an author that I love. Unfortunately, he's no longer here. And he wrote a quote that said, we spend a long time not writing a book. And I think, we could add that to anything. We spend a long time not starting a business or not doing the next thing or whatever it is. And a lot of that is down to, how crap would it be if I failed? And we just need to get comfortable with the fact that actually it's not failure. It takes you into that next space, whatever that is.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that and say that actually, I don't believe it is really confidence itself. There's some interesting research that talks about this and says actually it's more women's realization of the landscape they're in and the challenges that they face when they're starting up. And I think many women, I know when they're starting up, feel a bit of a square peg in a round hole. We have an ecosystem that delivers a very particular type of support often women don't fit within that support, particularly women that feel they're building businesses where success to them is broader than the more traditional focus on profit alone. So, purpose and values, for example. I know many people set up businesses like that, but women in particular often take that daunting step to start up because they're very driven by their purpose and a particular vision of what they want to achieve. So I think it's important to say that. And also, exactly as Jo and Kylie have both said, I think we are here just once, and it is daunting. It's daunting to start a business. It's a bit daunting to feel like that square peg in the round hole. But my goodness, when you do it and you get one of those great moments, there's nothing better than that. You feel like $1 million when you've pulled off something that you never thought you were capable of, or taken a step towards your goal. And I think that really motivates so many women to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Totally. We've had a couple of comments from people watching in. Somebody is saying there that they'd set up a business similarly after their mum had died. And I think it can be a sort of time where you're reflecting and thinking about what's important in life and what you want to do and going for your goals and your dreams. Somebody else saying, wow, this is a fabulous panel. I totally agree. So I've got another question for you, Caroline. Is Scotland a good place to be a woman in business?
Yes, of course it is. I think, on the positives, there are more and more women starting up in business. In fact, the Gateway statistics would tell us we've been on a trend for years and we're actually at parity in terms of the numbers of startups. So that's good news for women, because you're starting up with a peer group, with a network. And as Kylie said, there's so many amazing women with really creative and different ideas coming through. But that's also really important for the ecosystem as a whole, because majority women-owned businesses in Scotland are only about 1 in 5 of the business base, so just about 20%. And we know from all sorts of research that gender diversity drives radical step change innovation. Now, that's the kind of innovation that makes us competitive as a nation, that drives our economy. So actually, more women starting up is good for our national economy, as well as good for the diversity of businesses that we're seeing coming through. And there is more support becoming available. I mean, we obviously offer support for women, but we're seeing more of the mainstream organisations maybe running one-off programmes for women, so you can access that support. And it's important to say that for a lot of women, women-specific support is key when you're getting started and finding your feet. And this isn't a women versus men thing. It is about building that confidence we've already talked about, and it is making people feel that their business idea is valid and supporting them with that. And then we do all mix, we mix very well. We work with a lot of the mixed gender networks. We come together for events, but that place you can go, it's important to have that option and that choice. So it is a good time to be a woman in Scotland and to start up a business. So if you're thinking about it, crack on, that's what I'd say.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. And I think like the women's support and women across Scotland is amazing. The support we give each other and we get is fabulous. So you've kind of touched on it there, but what other opportunities are available for women in business? So there's the support and through the different organisations, but what other opportunities is there, Caroline?
Opportunities, well, we've just come through a pandemic, haven't we? And we're going into a cost of living crisis. So we're living in interesting times, but there are always business opportunities there. There are always things that you will see where you think, I could do that and I could do it better, or I could do it differently, or I see a gap, or, I'm working with research and academia. I see something that could totally transform an industry or, some sort of healthcare provision, for example. So it's important to say there are always opportunities. And if you see an opportunity, get out there, do your research, really look into it, because the chances are you'll be able to make it successful. And don't be daunted at the fact we're in a pandemic. I think we've all learned a lot from the pandemic. I think already Jo talked about being nimble and adapting. Kylie talked about the great stuff that she did, during the pandemic. So don't be put off by that. And of course, we're all becoming digital leaders, aren't we? The pandemic's made us really embrace digital and get to grips with it. And that opens up loads of opportunities for business. We've done a lot of work with businesses, for example, who are looking to set up digital portals, looking to maybe upskill in e-commerce. I think there are huge opportunities there. So don't be daunted. There's a lot of help and support at hand, and there's plenty of opportunity out there, even now.
Yes, absolutely, Anna. Thank you for that. So Kylie and Jo, I'd really love to ask you, when you both started up your businesses, what were the challenges you faced then? What were the sort of key things that you came up against?
Jo? I'll go, okay, because I know my biggest, there was many, but pinpointing one to keep this succinct and thinking about how it still is a challenge for me, it's all to do with the kind of tech. And I think that finding someone that can be your tech partner, build a good website, particularly when it's not your strength, you don't really know how to do that yourself. So you're putting your trust and faith in a company to do that. I have found that particularly challenging, and that kind of rumbles on. I think I mentioned that we launched a new platform on at the start of the year. You're putting your trust in a business to deliver something for you that you hope will work. And there's certainly lots of challenges along the way. We actually left our digital agency a few months ago, and I went looking for, I went stalking on LinkedIn actually, because I thought, I know the kind of person I want. We need to bring someone in-house. I've tried a couple of agencies. It's not really working. We need to be nimble. We need to be quick. And we need someone to build a relationship with. And so, yeah, went kind of stalking on LinkedIn, thought about businesses and websites that I love and are, reflective of the way that I would like the Egg platform to look. So managed miraculously to find someone who is now working with us in-house. I can't afford to have him very often, unfortunately, but it's a huge step in the right direction. And I think, again, I don't want to talk too much about confidence all the time, but it was really, knowing that something wasn't working, making a change quickly, getting out of a quite expensive and binding kind of relationship and moving into something that worked much better for me and my business to really try and power the growth of it. So, yeah. And the thing is, I speak to, and that's when I lean into other female business owners and say, how did you, your website's brilliant. Who did you use? Give me some information. And it's amazing the amount of people who said, didn't have a great experience. I'm sorry, I can't help you. So I did kind of go to networks close by to see, okay, who is that business that can help? Who has the kind of a great kind of tech platform that can support, and eventually, yeah, just went out and found someone myself, because unfortunately the kind of reviews on businesses that people had used weren't that great. But yeah. I don't know, Jo, I've looked at your website, and it's brilliant, but I bet there was tears and tantrums and lots of things to get it to where it is. How did you find it?
No, I agree with everything that you said. So the digital space, is something that is actually very new. I know it's quite hard for us to think back of a time of when we didn't have websites or when we didn't have social media. So Feel Unique is a really large online beauty retailer. But when Aaron Chidley started that up, there was no social media. And the people that work for him, he's now, the business is now sold to Sephora. But the people that worked for him that were in their 20s, when he was saying this, they were just like, how did you sell anything? It was like they just couldn't think of a time, when there wasn't social media and digital. And the thing is, it's such a new industry, really, that it's going through its own evolution. And unfortunately, other businesses and other people will pay the price of that, because lots of people will say that they're going to deliver this and they don't as they say in anything, the devil is definitely in the detail when it comes to stuff like that. I'm going to take a slightly different tact in terms of challenges. The challenge that I had when we started up was everything that I think about is in a circular fashion. It's just the way I always wonder what happens to things. You know, where does it go? You know, what happens to it? And it might just be my chemistry background. And one of the things that we wanted to do when we started out was we wanted to have purpose and sustainability in our accounts package and the balance sheet, because I think you should be able to measure sustainability and purpose. And everybody laughed at me. The accountants all laughed. Ha ha ha. They didn't necessarily laugh like that, but I know they were laughing inside. That's not the only thing that you can do, is things that have a physical monetary value to it. Fast forward to 2022 and all the big accountancy firms are scrambling around to actually have carbon accounting and sustainability accounting. So sometimes when people think, one, it's a challenge because it's too hard, that's where the opportunity lies. And although it's really, I mean, it is really hard, I've not stopped that asking every year, how can we get sustainability onto the balance sheet? How can we measure impact wider than just profit? And I think some of these angles that you have in your mind, just because you're maybe the lone wolf, doesn't mean to say that you're wrong. Yeah, what you really are trying to do is find your community of other like-minded people. And that's really, for me, you know, where Wes and some of the other aspects to the ecosystem in Scotland has helped. So Jayne Stewart, who is a director at Topolytics, is a Wes ambassador. Yeah, and Jayne and I have known each other virtually over the last few years and finally got to meet face to face. And it was just amazing, because she has had lots of these, you know, lone wolf thoughts, and they have created an amazing, you know, business that is, you know, it hasn't even reached the top of the roller coaster yet. So it's fantastic to think that your crazy idea or other people looking at you and saying that is never going to work, it's not going to work. That's possibly where your business will be different, but that's where the challenge lies.
You know, I love that. That's looking for the opportunities and the challenges. That's amazing. We've got a couple of comments here and one question as well. One lady, Marilyn, who is saying, people used to ask, does your husband not object to you being away from home travelling? And what does he do for his tea when he comes back in? But nobody'd ever asked her when she was stuck at home with the kids if she ever objected to him travelling. But actually, she's saying that her hubby was her biggest champion, and she was earning more than him as well. I love that. So thanks for that comment, Marilyn. Pauline as well, saying it's lovely to see women supporting each other as friends in business rather than being overly competitive. And I'm finding that women are amazing at championing each other, supporting each other, and coming together as a great community. We also have somebody saying that they moved up from Yorkshire. They were in a local women's business networking and support group, and it really helped them with their confidence, really helped them a lot. We have one question. Someone's done all their research looking at supply chains when it comes to developing a website. They've got a viable product, but they've sort of stalled there. They don't know if there are any networking groups for arts entrepreneurs, and they work from home and they think this is possibly part of the problem. Does anybody in the panel have any ideas, suggestions for that?
So there are networking groups. There's the good news for creative and art industry entrepreneurs. So for example, there's We Are Creative, the community interest company, which is run by the fabulous Rachel Brown. So well worth having a look at them. They're online and they're a super group actually founded to help people in the arts and creative industries. And you know, every sector can face distinct challenges, and I think it's really important to be able to access that kind of sectoral support. But yeah, keep at it, you know, keep at it, and find yourself an accountability buddy as well. You know, maybe somebody else that's going through a startup, and you can hold each other to account in terms of your goals and what you're going to do by when. I think sometimes we all need somebody to kind of nip at our ankles now and again to keep us on track. So certainly don't lose heart. You've done a huge amount by the sound of it already. Research, supply chain, I'm just reading the comment there, developing a website, which we've just been talking about, is not a walk in the park at all. So good for you, you know. I think it maybe is easy to get a bit stalled in those stages, isn't it? If you're on your own and you're just working and working and working, you're maybe not live yet, you know. But absolutely keep at it, because see, when you get to that day when you go live and it's all worthwhile, nothing like that feeling at all.
Yeah.
If I can just add to Carrie's as well, obviously there's lots of different accelerators and those networks are really great. So we are part of the RBS accelerator at the moment, and one of the aspects of that is that not only are you in with other people that are starting up businesses or in scale up mode, but you also then get business opportunities, particularly for maybe what this person has developed. You might actually have some other entrepreneurs that can feed into your minimum viable product, pay a very small, you know, fee to access your services, whatever that particularly is, so that you've got it more ready to look for bigger clients. So I do recommend the accelerators that are available. RBS is the one that I'm on.
That's great. Again, RBS are doing a lot of fantastic work with women in business. Got another few questions coming in here. Fiona Stevens saying, morning, what are some tips on growing your customers? I hear a lot looking after your first customer for them to become your returning customer. Anybody have any comments on that?
Well, we were talking about this yesterday, actually. I was doing a Q&A session with Vicky Brock, who is also one of our ambassadors. So I would definitely say go and look at the recording of that session, because she was talking about that. We've not got enough time to unpack all the myths about how you acquire customers, what you pay for in terms of advertising, what works, what doesn't work. You really have to know where your customers are going to come from, where you're going to find them, and looking after them. Yes, that's really worthwhile if they are going to become repeat purchasers. So how are you going to ensure that they will repeat purchase? And how do you know with confidence that actually your sales are going to be driven by repeat purchasing? You may not know that yet. So, you know, do not throw everything blindly at your first customer. It is a good practice to look after all your customers, but you may need to invest your time on encouraging everybody to be a first customer. Although, as I say, if, for example, this is a high value purchase that they're going to be making, and your business is going to be founded on less numbers of sales, but a higher profit margin, then absolutely look after them and make sure they come back and purchase again, because that's like gold dust to you. But it depends what your model is there.
And just to add to that, I think it depends whether you are business to business in terms of customers or business direct to consumer customers, because that direct to consumer, whether it's a low end purchase or high end purchase, you know, you may think that you know what your target audience is, but sometimes you won't know that until you get feedback from who is buying your product. So your first customer might not be your returning customer, which goes against the grain. When it comes to business, I think for me, it's about the mix. So having some small entrepreneurial, nimble businesses that won't necessarily pay you as large a fee for your service as the larger businesses, but the larger businesses tend to take longer. And the smaller businesses, shorter, smaller projects that can help you be better at what you do by the time you get to a much larger organization. And that can help with your cash flow.
Fantastic. Gosh, we've got loads of questions coming in here. This is thank you so much, Jo. We've got someone asking around Chloe Milne's saying she got the idea of an accountability partner, which I love, because I think a lot of the times it is the support that women need from each other. And it's just sometimes somebody having a sounding board and saying, actually, you're doing all right. So she got that idea from Wes, and she recently found the right person on a HIT Scotland leadership course. They were both on and they couldn't make it weekly, but now they go back and forth with emails. That's amazing. I love that. I think that support's so important, Chloe, so thanks for sending that in. Emma Davies as well is saying when she set up, she found lots of support for the initial stages of setting up websites, social media and stuff, and supply chains, but very little support for getting customers to buy. At the end of the day, it's sales, and she believes that it's one of the biggest challenges regarding confidence. If you haven't done sales before, yeah, possibly that's true, actually. I think it's the biggest hurdle for any business to jump over, and it's the most exposing part for the person. Anybody want to comment on that?
I'll pick that up initially. I mean, I think rather than calling it sales, what you need to think about as the business owner is you're the expert in your product or service, whatever that is. So, you know, and people are looking in this age where you think you can access everything. Curation is so important, and remember that you are the expert in that particular product or service. So actually the selling aspect of it, if you try and put that aside, because that can be off-putting, and try and understand how you can be recognized as that expert within that business product or service, then what will happen is people will come for either advice initially, which can then be a warm lead that's then turned into an actual sale. That's how I would remember it. You're the expert, not other people.
Yeah, it'd be great to hear what Emma does. I think, you know, it's right. There's so many, there's so much brilliant support for startups, and selling is the hard bit and the bit that we all kind of like fear. But I think, and going back to a couple other points, we do have access to these brilliant online forums, these free sites that we can get access to say, what do you think of my business idea? How can I sell more? We see that a lot in the Egg Facebook group, and someone had been asking about arts. There's Women in the Arts Scotland as well, which is a big creative website, Facebook page. And these people, like women within these groups, really want to help others and champion them. And I think we see lots of women coming to the group saying, I'm thinking of starting a business. What do you think? How can I sell more? And getting some free advice is it's there to be had. And I think it's taking that first kind of step towards putting yourself out there and getting advice from others. But yeah, as Jo said, kind of making yourself an expert. People buy from people, and sometimes it is kind of not thinking about your product, but thinking about, again, that gap in the market that you can perhaps fill and sell yourself. That sounds a bit wrong, but you know, it's maybe not always product led.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sales is often an issue. So you're in good company. Sales is a real issue for women. Everybody finds it pretty daunting at the start up. But you've just got to look at these amazing businesses owned by women who are out there pioneering it, and so successfully. You know, we've got Jo and Kylie on here today, who've both done phenomenally well, and they've built that on the back of selling their businesses. And there is actually some free support out there. We've got some free support on the Women's Business Centre, and we've also got our new phase of the portal has got a digital directory. Sorry, couldn't get the words out there this morning. Has got a digital directory on it. Now that's free to access. It's free to join the platform, and you can then get an account and access the digital directory to promote your business. Because as an organisation, we have a massive social media profile, so we are going to be using that shortly to start promoting the directory. So you can capitalise on our reach, and you can capitalise on the reach of other businesses we work with. And I know, you know, Kylie also offers that type of support through Egg as well. So, you know, I would say fill your boots on that type of support as well, because it'll help you build your confidence.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. We've got another couple of comments, questions, and we've got Lee Midlane. Lee is feels a bit like a lone wolf. is a CEO and founder of a computer repair shop, and they've never met another woman in the same position. So I would definitely say, Lee, reach out to the communities and reach out and get some support, and because there's some amazing support here for women. So I really hope that you do that. We've also got Rebecca Stewart, who's saying she's finding that a lot of the support for women doesn't take into account the other commitments. So thinking about time considerations when women are busy, around school pickup times, and other sort of care responsibilities they have. What can she do about this? I would, from my perspective, Rebecca, I would definitely say, if you're finding that, speak to them and say, can you change these times? Because it's the support that's there for you. I know that a lot of the support agencies are doing their best to work around the times that are best for women. So we definitely have that in our minds, but definitely reach out to them and please do tell them.
Yes, you will not be the first to make that point, I can assure you.
Absolutely.
Lots of women-owned businesses have made that point back to some of the sort of mainstream agencies and support providers. And the more people that make that point and feedback, you know, even though it maybe feels a bit daunting, you might think you're the only one. No, you're not. So, you know, I know lots of women that have provided that feedback. And that is partly why we're seeing more of these services becoming available. So that's the first step. We've got them available, ladies. We now just need to make sure that they're available at better times so the accessibility is better. But, you know, the other thing as well is encourage them to record it. So, you know, like this today, it's not maybe the same as participating in it live. We know that, but you can at least access the tips, the advice, the support. And that is really important in terms of breaking down some of these barriers.
And I mentioned the RBS Accelerator. So this time around, they have a real focus on female founders, and they have built around the support on accessibility because that's high on their agenda. So I don't know if anybody else has got any other accelerators, but I can only talk from this experience that they have definitely set their stall out to say that they're working around, you know, that access so that female founders can access their accelerator much easier. And then just coming back to Lee Midlane on the CEO and founder of the computer repair shop, if you're the only woman, again, that's that expertise piece. I would definitely use that as a selling point, whether that's on your own social media or as part of any sort of industry panels or any sort of industry bodies that you can be part of. Because what will happen is, because you're the only female, and it happens in circular economy a lot. So I get asked, because I'm a woman, to do lots of different things and get involved in lots of different things. Use that to your advantage as much as you can.
Now, that's such a great point. And also I would say that, you know, there might not be an exact match of you out there, but there are lots of women who are like you and are the sort of lone woman in many different types of industry, you know, like manufacturing or like engineering or like tech, and who also feel that sort of lone wolf sense. So there will actually be a network of women out there for you, just not maybe quite in that identikit way that you're thinking at the minute. So, and everybody is always pleased to help, because gosh, if you've been through it, my word, you know, you're certainly usually pretty motivated to help others.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a question here for you, Kylie. Do you have any tips for growing your audience on social media?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, lots of tips. The consistency is probably one. And, you know, I think I look at my screen time at the end of a week and think, oh my God, what I could be doing with 8 hours a day. How have I managed to do that? But, you know, the EGG Facebook group, which is 35,000 strong, is much bigger than the other groups in Scotland because we haven't given the other groups as much love as we should. But in terms of growing an online audience, it is about consistency. But I would say that it's about being kind of careful with what you're putting out there, not going over the top, not kind of filling your feed with kind of daily banter. What we put out is what we know now that our audience will engage with, that content that will empower them, that will encourage them to talk to each other. So in our Facebook group, we've got anonymous posting, which we put on every Tuesday, giving the audience an opportunity to support each other with really sensitive topics. And I think if you can make your audience and your community kind of interact with each other, then that's a really lovely thing. But yeah, I think growing that Facebook group has been part of my life for 7 years, and I love it. You know, I think that's one thing that I don't, as much as I'm saying my screen time is off the scale, I really love being part of that group and watching it grow. And I think that is, yeah, I've had a lot of jobs over the years. My CV is about 10 pages long. I finally feel that at the age of, well, heading towards 50 now, that I've found my tribe and found the thing that I love, and that's kind of what's powering me on. So if you find something you love, it feels slightly easier to help it and nurture it and push its growth forward. So.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so we've got another couple of questions. A couple on the RBS Accelerator. One's asking, and I'm not sure about this actually. Do you have to bank with them to be on the accelerator? No, that's grand. So you don't need to bank with them. The other one is, when would you be eligible as a business to go on the accelerator program? And is it after 1 year of business or earlier? Also, could you describe just a little bit more about what it does?
So I've put the link in the chat. I think everybody gets to see that, hopefully. You can have an idea. They've got different stages for different stages of business, but that's why I've also put in the West Scotland National Women's Business Centre link as well, because I think you need to, if you're at the cusp of an idea, what you want is you want people to challenge you, but then you have to make the decision of when to go ahead with that. And my advice would be, the quicker you get something out there, the quicker you get feedback to be able to make it more perfect. Please don't take forever to try and make something perfect, because it just will never happen. And then you'll lose because you won't get any positive feedback potentially. But with the different accelerators that you can access, they generally have different stages of different businesses. And that's why we've been on it for quite a while, because our business was, you know, idea stage, then startup, and now into scale up and high growth, I think they call it now. So, you know, they've been able to give us support throughout. We do bank with RBS, just letting people know it's not that you do need to. What we've found though is that that's a huge organisation that's actually helped with some of our business propositions as well. So it's just to keep that in mind, you know, for the future.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. And yes, we're posting the links into the platform for you now. So we're doing that for you. Okay, so on to the next question. And thank you for all those questions that you sent in the chat there. Thinking about finance and funding, women generally, they're more hesitant to seek funding for their business. So, or when they're starting their business. So how do we encourage women to build the confidence to do that? And what would the impact on the Scottish economy be if they took those opportunities up?
Well, I kick that off then.
Yes.
Well, in terms of, let's start with the impact on the economy then, because that'll maybe motivate everybody to actually do it. So I think I said earlier, women-owned businesses are about 20% of the business base in Scotland. So despite the fact we've got more women starting up, you might have remembered, we're about parity there, actually that trend isn't yet translating through to the business base. So just about 1 in every 5. Now we know other nations have had a particular focus on women-owned businesses and supporting them. And by doing that, nations like the United States, for example, have more than doubled their numbers of women-owned businesses. So they're actually at 40% of the business base through that years and years of focus. So if we doubled our 20% to 40%, that would add another 8.8 billion into the Scottish economy every year. And to give you just a bit of context for that, that is more than the contribution of the whole of the food and drink sector in Scotland. It's more than the contribution of the whole of the life sciences sector in Scotland. And in fact, it's more than food and drink and life sciences combined, ladies. So it's a significant amount could be added to the economy by boosting the contribution from women-owned businesses. And we all know funding and investment is critical for growth. Women, from the research we do, women tend to not ask for funding as much. And when they ask for funding, they tend to ask for less than men, often underestimating how much they actually need. Or, you know, from a banker's perspective, I might say that they're frugal with their cash and they leverage it as much as possible. I think many of us are pretty good at doing that. The good news is that research tells us when women do apply for finance, they tend to be about as successful as men are when they apply for more traditional types of funding like bank funding, when they apply for equity investments, so, you know, angel funding or venture capital, much less successful. There's still a way to go there. That's quite a male-dominated zone, and I think women often find some of the experiences that were talked about earlier being replayed, you know, the questions going to their male partner that may have gone along with them instead of going to them as the business owner, and all sorts of stuff there. So we've got a bit of work to do there, but well worth getting investment into your business to help you to grow. Or you can consider bootstrapping as well. And lots of businesses have successfully grown by bootstrapping, by managing their costs, and actually by getting to grips with sales and really funding their business through increased sales. And that has the double effect of making you very attractive to investors because you've evidenced a really strong track record.
I've just got a question, Carolyn, because I know you're the expert on this. You mentioned that women weren't as successful when it comes to kind of angel and venture investment. Why do you think that is? And how can women get better at success when it comes to those levels of investment? So
I think there's been a lot of work done to help women pitch for investment. I think there was, you know, a sense a few years ago, women didn't know how to pitch. So, you know, we're a bit more daunted, and a lot of work has gone into that. So, you know, I think we've probably covered that side of stuff, and women know other women who've pitched and upskill and know more. However, investment like business angel investment is basically private individuals coming together as a syndicate and putting their hand in their own pocket to fund a business. Now, people tend to do that when they feel confident they understand what that business is doing. Now, we know women start up in particular sectors of the economy, for example, retail, hospitality, tend to be more women in those sectors, much less in tech and engineering. And the converse is true. Many men that are looking to invest have track experience and understanding of sectors like tech, engineering, the more male-dominated sectors, are comfortable to invest in that. And that actually has a lot to do with it. It isn't necessarily that people don't want to invest in women, for example. I think there's a bit of a myth about that. It's more about where people feel comfortable investing. And we are working with one of the angel syndicates called Mint to try to help more women become investors. And as more women become investors, you know, that's one of the ways we hope we will enable more women to come in and to successfully gain investment, because many women's businesses, women investors are interested to purchase from those businesses, they're interested to support those businesses. So part of it is matching like with like. There is loads we could say. I think we need a whole other webinar on that topic, but that's just a few points around investment and taking it on.
Yeah, I've just put in the chat, which will get onto the platform. There is a lot of government funding and grant funding that's out there. And what we've found, we're a self-funded business. What that means is we've not given any equity away yet at the different stages of our business, but we've had a lot of different support. So that's through loans from bank, through to grant funding in particular, because we do a lot of research and innovation within our business. What I've found with grant funding is that once you've get a small grant and understand the application process, you can then build on that. And as you build on that, you can then go for much bigger rounds of funding within the grant side of things. So I think it's just to keep that in mind as well, that get started like anything, and Mrs. Action.
No, that's a great point. And also understand what type of finance might align best to your business. So they're all different. You know, we've covered off the business angel investment. Again, it aligns better to some sectors than others at the moment. And as Jo says, grants are fantastic. Again, sometimes grants will be aligned to particular sectors or particular elements of the economy that the government wants to promote. So, for example, digital and net zero are two grant strands at the moment that many businesses would be able to access. You know, just think about how you might tilt your business and your aspirations towards those two particular topics. And then many of the other grants are for particular sectors of the economy. So if you're not in those sectors, it's more difficult to gain access. But keep scanning and watching. There's also a lot of local grants as well in your local area, and your local business gateway would be able to tell you about any local grants that are available, which can really help you when you're starting up those small grants.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a couple of comments. Thank you so much for that. Got a couple other comments. We've got Sarah who's saying this is so interesting and helpful, thinking around the lone wolf, your unique expertise and the gap in the market. She's finding it that this is the same. She's finding the same. She's a Black woman in the life coaching industry, so she's finding that the same. Pauline also saying, have you come across any media censorship when you're posting online?
Media censorship? No, well, I haven't. I don't know about anybody else. Is that surprising? I mean, obviously we're constantly posting about equality and diversity. And actually, no, you know, I haven't had any media censorship. And in fact, for those of you that know Women's Enterprise Scotland, one of the key things that we do is to absolutely shamelessly promote women-owned businesses, and we try to get those women into the media actually so they can tell their stories, because we know how inspiring those stories are for everybody else. So, yeah, I think I said at the start, actually, we work with STV, we work with BBC, and in fact, we've been able to get free media training for women. So, you know, we've taken women into the BBC studios, we've taken them into the STV studios. We've also done some Zoom type training as well, because more women that know about speaking out in the media, and back to that confidence, isn't it? And then the more we'll see women speaking on the news, commenting, and also sharing their business stories. And that has a huge impact on the rest of us, you know, who could fail to be inspired by, you know, what Jo's achieved with her business and what Kylie's achieved by hers, you know, and there are so many others out there. We need to get them profiled. So, no, I'm the opposite. I'm absolutely shameless about getting out there and promoting women and women in business.
Quite rightly so, absolutely. We have a really lovely comment from Lindsay, who's saying this is a very inspiring session. While we've been speaking, she's now signed up to Women's Business Centre, Egg and Beauty Kitchen. So that's amazing. Thank you for that. And please do follow everyone in the panel today. Carol saying, apologies, missed first half of this today, so she's got to watch that later. If she hasn't, we haven't covered this yet, Carol. It's thinking of the current cost of living crisis and how difficult it is to launch at the moment. Her product's expensive and there's no way around it. And also she feels some pressure to address the world's problems, which is a guilt trip, and it would be very good if she could feel okay about this and not that she needs to fix it, but she guesses that we have to give ourselves permission to simply have a business, but to take good care of the stakeholders. Does anybody want to comment on that?
Well, I think, cost of living crisis coming out of a pandemic, we did say earlier, there are always opportunities in these markets, always opportunities. So the important thing to do is to really make sure you've done your research and make sure that even if your product is expensive, is there a need for your product at this point in time? Are people going to purchase it? Who is going to purchase it? Have you involved them? Have you spoken to them about what you're going to do? Good way to get them on board early. And in fact, many global brands started up in a recession. Häagen-Dazs, for example, started up in the recession back in the 90s and are a huge global brand and a big success. And they're expensive for ice cream. So it's all kind of relative, I think, but it is important to do your homework. There is going to be less cash going around, so you need to be absolutely on it in understanding who's going to purchase and why. And in terms of addressing the world's problems, lots of women are led by their values and their purpose and in making a difference. And you don't need to fix anything. We often talk about what's the one thing you could do. So what's the one thing that perhaps you could do as you set up your value that would make just that little bit of difference to the world? I think we're all guilty of trying to boil the ocean and fix it all at once. But actually, just one thing, if we all did that, it would make a massive difference.
And I think if you've got a product that is a premium luxury expensive product, is it something that lasts a lifetime? And if it lasts a lifetime, that's actually what we should be trying to buy. The world's problems have been created by this cheap, disposable, single-use consumerism. So actually you might be in the perfect place for what your product is, of the fact that gives people options where they spend more wisely, even though it's a more expensive product that they're buying, but it lasts a lifetime or a lot longer.
Yeah, great point. I would say that it's almost like there's never a good time, and if you're waiting for a right time, you wouldn't have launched a business in the last 3 years. I think we see people on Egg launching and talking about their businesses, and there is a kind of nod to, I understand that my product is slightly more expensive than others and appreciate it's a crisis. However, I think this is a great product, and I think it's great that you are aware of how this might fit, and it's about how you kind of position it. But as Jo said, I think if it's something that lasts a lifetime, then we've all kind of forgotten about sustainability. Sustainability September seemed to kind of be forgotten about, and I think if it's something that is here for good, then it's fantastic. So yeah, go for it. That's what I say.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. And unfortunately we're coming to the end. We've only got 3 minutes left. We've got one quote here from Pauline saying, did not come along to these sessions before because I thought it was sexist to have a women in business session, an old-fashioned idea. Is there a men in business session for equality? Men suffer from issues too, of course. Nice to see women are supporting each other, and that's her perception. So thanks for that. That's really good. I don't know if there's any male business sessions, but it's lovely to be part of these female business sessions. So as we're just sort of winding up, I'd like to just come to each of the panelists and see, just in a very short sort of what would your message be, your overall message be from each of you to women in business? What would you like to tell them?
I'll just comment very quickly, just on that last point, I think, because it's important. Men and women do often have exactly the same experiences in business, but the research tells us that women face much more of those challenges, so to a greater extent, if you like. So that is often what is behind the focus on women in business. Same issues, absolutely, but heightened extent and impact on women. Pauline, what would I say? Business is fantastic. It can change your life, you know. So if you're sitting there looking at growing a business, great for you. You're pioneering. You're going to inspire the next generation of women and girls. And if you're sitting there thinking about your business idea and starting up, crack on. You know, there's a great amount of support out there. And as many other women will tell you, there is nothing like getting to that point where you go live and launch and see your dreams turn into reality.
Yeah, lovely. I would just say, don't be a lone wolf. There are lots of networks out there, lots of places for support. It's exciting now that we're back to face-to-face. So, you know, please do come to real life events, find someone who will champion you and find someone who will push you and keep you accountable, because that's really helped me in the last year.
From Greta Thunberg, nobody's too small to make a difference. I think that just says it all.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to our panellists. We've had Kylie, Reid, the founder of Egg, Chidley, founder of Beauty Kitchen UK, and Carolyn, Currie, Chief Executive of Women's Enterprise Scotland. Thank you so much. We could have went on all day with this conversation. Thank you so much for coming along, and take care of yourselves and go start your business. Go be amazing women and support each other, and which you already do. Take care.